In my last video, I listed 4 factors as the reason for Trump's win in 2016. Black voters who did not vote, the left voting for third-party candidates, the right showing up in force, and Trump leaving people in the center of the field, an alternative to Hillary Clinton, were the 4 factors that swung the 2016 election in favor of him. And I covered the impact of third party in the battleground states of 2016 and how things have changed this year. The estimates show that there is a 2 to 3 million votes that will come back to the Democratic bucket this year. Elections are always the battle in the margins. And the weakened impact of third party this year improves Joe Biden's margin by 2 to 3 percentage points in the battleground states of 2020. But that's only a small but crucial part of the equation. The other, and possibly an even more important factor, is African American turnout. If it remains depressed, it improves the chance of a Trump win. African American turnout, after increasing at a steady clip for nearly 20 years, declined in 2016. Turnout dropped to 59.6% in 2016, a 7 percentage point drop compared to 2012. There were about 16.4 million black voters in 2016. A 7 percentage point drop is more than a million voters dropping off. With majority of them inclined to vote for a Democratic candidate, the absence of more than a million votes in 2016 compared to 2012 played a major role in an election where 90 electoral votes was decided by less than 365,000 votes. In 2016, the number of registered African American voters was 27.5 million. In 2020, the number has ticked up higher to 30 million voters. Their impact will be felt in all states across the country, but their size makes them even more important in 3 states this year. Georgia. Black voters account for 32% of the electorate. In North Carolina, they account for 22%. In Florida, they are at 14%. So let us dive into how they are turning out in these 3 states because it will give us a bird's eye view of how things are moving nationally. The first benchmark to keep an eye on is to see how close African American voters get to their share of their electorate. If African American voters make up for 1/3 of the entire voting base in the state, it will be good if they account for the same proportion when all the votes are counted. For example, if the state has 30% of registered black voters, then after the election, you want to see 30 African American votes out of every 100 votes. The lower it goes, the worse it will be for Joe Biden. In Georgia, 2.75 million people have already voted. 30.7% of these votes are from African Americans, who account for 32% of the electorate. In 2016, 1.15 million black people voted in Georgia, accounting for 27.6% of the total votes. The turnout this year has increased by a percentage point. Not great, but not certainly worse either. If this number can get closer or go past 32%, then Georgia will be in a better shape to flip. 835,000 African Americans have already voted in Georgia this year. That number has to sail past 1.2 million. That means another 400,000 African Americans must vote. We still have another week of early voting left, and then there is the election day vote as well. Georgia is looking okay to get there. It's good, but not great. In North Carolina, things are actually as good as Georgia. Black voters account for 20.64% of the voter base in the state, and as of October 26th, they account for 20.58% of the votes received by the state. Actually, I should have said North Carolina is actually doing better than Georgia. So they are keeping up the pace, and I hope they continue to hold that level. So turnout is good in North Carolina, and with the state expected to have a close finish, holding up that level will be very important. In Florida, African American votes account for 12.5% of the votes, which is a bit lower than the proportion of black voters registered in the state. Not good as North Carolina, not good as Georgia, but certainly not bad either. A bit more pace will be good. But there is one more crucial piece of data which I would like to discuss. Of the 55 million people who have voted nationally and for which race-wise data is being made available by TargetSmart, only 4.7 million African Americans have voted. So out of the early voting totals, just 8.5% has come from African American voters, which is low. So, how is this happening? It's happening because African American voters, wherever they think the race is close, such as Georgia, Florida, and North Carolina, are turning out in large numbers. While in states where they think Democrats are going to win, they are yet to come out with the same level of energy. This is just plain bad. This is the exact kind of thinking that got us 4 years of Trump. If we want change, we need to vote irrespective of who we think is going to win or lose. African Americans must vote, irrespective of what the media says about who will win their state. Due to the lead that Biden has with white voters in the Midwest, Biden will survive, and black voters turning out in the battleground states will be of a big help to him. It's good for Biden, but not good news for the African American community. If they want things to change administratively, electing Biden is not the end of it, it is just the start. And they need to exercise their right to vote. Only when politicians from both sides see that African American voters are voting in large numbers, things will start to change. Unless that happens, things will stay the same on the ground. But when that happens, when black people vote, always in record numbers, every politician will be forced to react. Now back to Biden. With respect to African American turnout, it's still not there where it must be, and a lot of work must be done. Biden will be happy to see that they are turning out well in the three states where they can leave a huge impact: Georgia, North Carolina, and Florida. But even in those states, there is still plenty of votes that must be brought to the polling booth. I will give an A for the first week of early voting, B for the middle week, and they need two more A's, one for this week and one on election day. I just hope the Biden campaign realizes the work it has with African American voters. It needs to work the phones, emails, messages, and whatever that can be possibly done must be done to further improve turnout. The beauty is, if African American turnout can get back to 2012 level, Biden really does not have to worry about reducing Trump's margin with white voters. What he already has will be enough, as African American votes will drag him over the top. To get there, more work needs to be done. It's only halfway there. If you're watching this, I request you to vote irrespective of who you think is going to win the states. Make a statement. Please vote. Thanks for watching. If you like the content, please subscribe.